God visited the nation of Nigeria many years ago and gave us a prophet. His name was Benson Idahosa. He died in 1998, and since 1998, which is 26 years now, the prophetic voice of Nigeria has been silenced. We don't have again a prophetic voice in Nigeria, and that is why the political landscape has slipped out of Nigeria's hands, because it takes a prophet to change law and to control a nation, not a politician. I don't know if I'm communicating. Benson Idahosa got into that office by priesthood. While he was a young man in his 20s, he went to the central roundabout. How do they call that place now? Ring Road in Benin City, under a 7-day dry fast. Do you know dry fasting? Some people say they are on dry fasting and they're drinking water. No, you're not on dry fasting. You're on wet, you're on swimming fasting. Dry fasting is dry. Brother, you don't drink water at all for the 7 days and 7 nights, or 3 days and 3 nights. And I want to tell you, it separates the men from the boys. He went 7 days dry. And in the midnight hour, he will go to Ring Road and begin to march around and make declarations, taking control over governance, over religion, over the 7 mountains. And he will go back and sleep. By the time he came the 3rd, 4th night, he saw at that Ring Road in the midnight sacrifices, meats. Whether it's human, he doesn't know. Whether it's animal, but the blood of those animals, they wrote his name, Benson Idahosa. Because when you do priesthood properly, you will trigger something in the realm of the spirit. And they will say, Paul, I know. Peter, I know. This one, I know. If you're not doing priesthood, they don't know you. You have never affected the realm of the spirit. You are just a good Christian. And that was how he came and kicked off and began to blaster in tongues and march round. He did that for the 7 nights. And on the last night, when he finished and slept, the heavens opened and the angel of Nigeria appeared and handed over to him the 7 keys of Nigeria. Said, by your word, no man enters the governance of your state or Aso Rock. Nobody comes with the president of your country except by you have the power to enthrone and dethrone. That's what we're talking about. That is what God has got to restore to this nation. And that is what is coming now, not just in this nation, in every nation. The true prophetic apostolic mandates. It was when Benson Idahosa was placed into that office. Babangida was our president. At a point, he appointed 4 federal ministers. Idahosa was in the house watching on television, and he picked his phone and called the president of Nigeria. Said, Your Excellency, I've just seen on television you have appointed 4 federal ministers. Oh yes, man of God. Your Excellency, you have made a very big mistake. Man of God, what is the mistake? The mistake is that you are just the physical president. I'm the spiritual president of Nigeria, and the spiritual controls the physical. You don't do that without consulting me. Any day you do that again, I give you 24 hours, I will bury you and you will enter the grave. Try me and you will know the authority I'm operating on. And Babangida said, yes, man of God, please, I'm sorry, I will not do it again. Until Babangida left that office, he was calling Idahosa my father in the Lord. That's the authority that has got to come to this nation. True prophets. Samuel anointed Saul. He's also the one who dethroned Saul. He's also the one, I give you 7 days to meet me at so place for sacrifice. When he landed on the 7th day and he has already offered the sacrifice, he's the same one who said, God has found another man. The kingdom has been taken from you. Prophets are no nonsense men. Government fears them. They have the power to lock the heavens for 3.5 years. If you try them, you will know the authority they are upon. You will know that the authority of heaven is higher than all what is going on down here. This is priesthood. That was how you know the World Council of Witches were coming to Nigeria and Benin City. 970 witches were to have the World Council of Witchcraft. And they came to national television to announce that I am the head of the witches worldwide. And we are coming to Benin City for the World Council of Witches on so day, so time. And Idahosa was watching. So he also came to the national television station and said, give me a slot. That was the next day. And he came on national news. Papa Idahosa said, the World Council of Witches is hereby cancelled. It will not hold. If I be a man of God, that thing cannot happen here. So that's the announcement. So please, the person who made the announcement yesterday, he made a mistake. And they called the head of the witches and said, look, there's a man of God in this nation. who says your meeting is cancelled. What are you saying? Would you like to have two of you? Let's bring the two of you national to have it out. A kind of debate. You face one another. And the head of the witches said, yes, that's good. And they called Papa Idahosa. He said, yes, I like that. And they came live on national television. And they said to the head of the witches worldwide, you'll be the first to talk. It's a 30 minutes program. You have 15 minutes. 50. He said, no, give him 25 minutes. I only need, even 1 minute is okay for me. Give him 25 minutes. Let him talk his talk. And he started to talk all the books of Moses and the 7 books of Moses and all the occultic things. And after, they said over to Idahosa, it's over to you. It's okay, I don't need even 1 minute. Open Exodus, it says, suffer not a witch to live. So are you a witch? You say you're the head of witches worldwide. If you're a witch, I'm going to call upon my God. If I'm a man of God, within 10 seconds, you're going to die live as Herod died and was eaten by worms. I will count 10 and you will die live. Are you a witch? And the man started shivering because it's not just words. They see in the spirit, they assess your authority. And he said, no, if I was, I'm not one now. And so Idahosa announced again, ladies and gentlemen, the meeting is hereby cancelled. That's the authority we're talking about. It's not lobbying. It's not marching on the streets. They had one in Northern Ireland. His name was Ian Paisley. That was a prophet of God. Ian Paisley was a no-nonsense man. He was the prime minister of that country. He was also the head of the Presbyterian Church. That's what we call the Order of Melchizedek. The Order of Melchizedek is where you join both governance and priesthood together. When the Pope was to come to Northern Ireland, Ian Paisley resisted him right from the airport. And when he came and to address the people, he stood up and said, get out, you son of the devil, Antichrist, the beast. That's Ian Paisley. I've never seen a man, maybe you don't know much about him. That man was a fearless man. Very, very fearless man, and he was a prophet of God. Ian Paisley. In his days, you cannot commit abortion in Ireland. There were so many laws they were trying to push, he will block it. He will not allow any such laws to enter while he's on seat. Unfortunately, Great Britain has not had that. That is why there's no fear of God in this nation. Because you have never had a prophetic voice who will say, hey, stop that. If you try that in 24 hours, you go down. That's what I'm talking about. Things are going to get rough because the true prophetic mantles are coming back to the earth. Ancient mantles, mantles of Samuel, mantles of Moses, mantles of Elijah. So I was telling you that from the beginning, all these men, God rules nations by the prophetic. Moses down to the judges, Samuel. And it was in the days of Samuel, the people rose up and they said, please give us a king. We want to be like the other nations. And Samuel went to God and God said, it's not you they have rejected, it is me. Because my order is theocracy. I rule through a man. But seeing they want to be like the other nations, give them, but let them know that that is not my order. Bring down lightning, thunder, and torrential rains and scatter all of their crops. And Samuel called upon God and said that you people will know that this thing you are looking for, presidency and governorship, it is not my system. And for you to know that God is angry with you taking this, I call upon heaven. Lightning, thunder, torrential rains. Am I correct? That is what took place. That's a prophetic voice. That's a prophetic voice. Hosea chapter 13 verse 11 says, I gave you a king in my anger and I took him away in my wrath. It is priesthood. When Moses was in power, he confronted Jans and Jambres. Those were the priests of Pharaoh, the magicians around the court of Pharaoh. It takes true territorial priesthood, men who are standing in true territorial priesthood, to dismantle the demonic priesthood, the Illuminati, the Freemasons. It takes true territorial priesthood to dismantle the witchcraft and the occultism that is even inside the church. through territorial priesthood. And this is how they took charge in the Old Testament. It was by priesthood. Abraham, everywhere he goes, he raises an altar. The first place of points of call was Shechem. He raised an altar. Genesis chapter 12, verse 6 and 7. Verse 8, he came to Bethel. He raised an altar. The next chapter 13, verse 18, at Mamre, he raised an altar. Everywhere he goes, he raises altar. That's priesthood. That's priesthood. Have you also noticed that everywhere Abraham goes, kings bow before him? Even when he went to Pharaoh, to Egypt, he went through the back door and said to his wife, Sarah, you're my sister, I'm your brother. And Pharaoh took her as wife, and he came out because the whole palace were under plagues. And he was summoned to the palace. And he went out through the front door of the palace. That's how he went to Gera and said, tell them you're my sister. Before you know it, he was in the palace of the king of Gera. And he left out with all the riches of Gera through the front door. Any place that Abraham goes, he goes as a non-entity. He comes out with kings recognizing him. Genesis 14, he slaughtered about 5 kings and 5 nations. And the king of Sodom came out to meet him. And then you see the king of Jerusalem, whose name was Melchizedek, also coming out to meet him. Men who operate territorial priesthood, governments recognize them. Except you're not operating priesthood. Except you don't understand what we're talking about by priesthood. Jacob was operating priesthood all night, wrestling before God. The Bible said, and when it was evening, he sent his wife and children and all that he had over the brook Jabbok, evening. And he prayed to the dawning of the day. That was an all-night tarry night. That's priesthood. Priesthood must know how to wake up in the midnight hours and pray. Sister, I want to tell you, if you sleep every night, you're not a priest. You're a child of God. Priests, they don't sleep in the night. Every night they are up. They cannot allow one night every night they must wake up. No matter how tired I am, no matter how pressed against the wall, there is no night I will not stand up in the midnight hours. Because I have to legislate. I have to exercise my priesthood. I have to silence every altar around me within 5-mile radius. Any territory I enter, no altar can function. Because I come as a priest. That's priesthood. You take dominion by priesthood. And God said to Jacob, the angel came and wrestled with him. And he said, you have power with God, vertical, priesthood, and power over men, horizontal. That's priesthood. Territories. We've talked about Samuel. What about Elijah? He made nonsense of Ahab. He put Ahab in his pocket. You don't need to be a member of a political party to be in charge of the government. What you need is priesthood. He didn't only make nonsense of the king of the country, all the priests, the 850 prophets of both Baal and the groves, he slaughtered all of them. This is the dimension God is bringing, the revival that is coming. You know that Daniel, he was not a pastor, but he was a priest. With Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. In fact, they controlled the whole of Babylon from their bedroom. He didn't have a pulpit. You don't need a pulpit to be a priest. Those 3 boys and Daniel, the priesthood they were operating was so strong and so powerful. And this was in Babylon. What is Babylon? The most idolatrous nation on planet Earth. If you think you cannot do anything because Great Britain has gone too far in darkness, has it gone further than Babylon? But only 4 guys. Only 4. They brought down an idolatrous system, the headquarters of Satan. And there is no government that comes into power, whether it's Nebuchadnezzar or Belshazzar or Darius or Cyrus, they will all end up making decrees that I decree. They change constitution that everybody must worship the God of Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego, and the God of Daniel. Daniel chapter 3, when he made that was the image, which was 60 cubits by 6 with 6 instruments. That's 666. They said, we will not bow down. And by priesthood, when Nebuchadnezzar saw the 4th man, he said, I make a decree. I change the constitution. Instead of you bowing down to the image of the 666, everybody must worship the God of Daniel, Shadrach, Meshach. Anybody who refuses, we will pull down their house and we'll make it a dunghill. It was their constitution. So priesthood can change the constitution. And in Daniel chapter 4, Nebuchadnezzar became a born again. He was the one who wrote that chapter. It wasn't Daniel who wrote Daniel chapter 4. It was Nebuchadnezzar. Go and read it. It was the testimony of his conversion to the faith. When you go to heaven, you will see Nebuchadnezzar. Because a man who functioned in priesthood affected governance. And Daniel chapter 5, his son Belshazzar took over. And the finger of God wrote, Mini, Mini, Tekel Upharsin. And by priesthood, that guy also came to know that it is God who rules in the kingdom of men. And Daniel chapter 6, when Darius came in, he also gave an order that nobody should pray to any god for 30 days. And Daniel was there kneeling down 3 times a day, priesthood. And he got to the lion's den. Oh, Daniel, is your God, whom you serve continuously, able to deliver you? Oh, King, live forever. My God sent his angels. And he ordered that all those guys who put you here with their families should be thrown inside. And then he also made a decree, change of constitution, that I, Darius, I make a decree that everybody in my kingdom must acknowledge and know and worship the God of Daniel. 4 guys, only 4 guys. Brethren, only 4 guys. You can take Great Britain by priesthood, by priesthood. The early church operated priesthood to the point that government cannot even lock them in the prison. When they lock them in the prison, they don't need to go and look for lawyers and barristers. Angels will come and open the prison door and tell them, continue to preach. If the angel doesn't open the prison door, they will send earthquake and scatter the whole place. They were operating priesthood, and they turned the whole world upside down. Saul was able to go to any city and conquer and kill Christians and drag them as they liked. The moment he came to a place called Damascus, he couldn't penetrate Damascus because there was a disciple, not a pastor. He was a disciple called Ananias, who was practicing priesthood. You can do your nonsense, Saul, in other cities, but not in Damascus. I have a priest. If you try it there, you'll be arrested. There are certain cities you can't function. Powers of darkness cannot just operate as they like, where there is proper priesthood in ground. But where there's only church and you're playing church, they can do as they like. There was a man in Nigeria called Babalola at a place called Ifida. Yes, Ifida, I'm correct. Where they had 14 deities. When you have 14 deities, it means you have 14 priesthoods. He destroyed all those deities and destroyed 14 priesthoods. It's Babalola who landed in a place and they said, these 4 guys, these are the strongest occult powers. These are the principalities. These 4 men, they are in charge of this land. They are high-ranking warlocks. I said, okay. Babalola went and met the 4 of them. He said, I hear you people are the strong men of this city. Father, if I'm a man of God, let what you did in the Bible, do it again in the days of Moses. Let the earth open and swallow 3 of them. Let one of them escape to tell the story. And the earth opened and swallowed 3 of them. That's priesthood. There's a man of God, you may have heard him on YouTube, James Kawaja. He shared a testimony of when he was in charge of the whole of East Africa, that he received a message from Satan, get out of Kampala. Make sure you're out of this city in the next 30 minutes with all of the witches and wizards under your control. He had 7,000 witches and wizards under his command. Make sure none of your guys are on ground in Kampala in the next 30 minutes, or you will die, or you'll be crippled for life, or you'll be converted to the other faith. And he asked Satan, please, my Lord, can you tell me what is going on? There is a man that is landing in the airport and is in the aeroplane right now. If he comes into your airspace and you're still on ground, you'll be arrested. Please, my Lord, can you tell me who is that man? His name is Maurice Sorello. Now, Maurice Sorello is not a great preacher. It's not about preaching. Priesthood is about your authority in the inner chamber. Maurice Sorello does not go to any city. The moment he lands in any city, for the first 3 days in any city he enters, no food. He's on compulsory total fasting to ascend in the spirit and take authority. If you hear him preaching and you're judging by his preaching, you may not rate him. But in the spirit realm, and so all the witches and wizards in the whole Kampala are running for their life because a priest is about to land. Meanwhile, that is a city that has more than 7,000 pastors. And Satan said to him, because when finally Morris left, he was about to return back to Kampala. Satan appeared and said, don't go there. That man, you don't know the volume of the prayer. For the next 21 days, the prayers are in the atmosphere. You have to stay out for the next 21 days until the prayers have died before you can enter. Now, that is why if you want to be a man, a woman who is a terror to the kingdom of darkness, you don't go on prayer meetings and then you leave. You say, child, thank God we don't kill Satan today. You live in that realm. You become a mobile altar. You live such, what I said yesterday, a regimented life of consecration. Everywhere you go, any city you go, there are alarm bells going off. Hey, 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 this man is coming here. All of you, find your way, find your way. If I live like that, you live like that. My bishop, you live like that. Pastor Joe, all of us, I'm telling you, anywhere, fire, everywhere, fire. Satan will not know where to run to.